Hello everyone, my name is Zenitsu, and I'm back with another Buddyfight deck profile update video. Today I'm going to be talking about the Legend World deck of Empyreal Corps. I kind of already ran over Empyreal Corps in a previous video, so I'm just going to be talking about what the deck is currently doing and what the new cards are adding. Condemning Executioner, Grace Graviel. This is Graviel's new form, and it's actually pretty solid for both builds of the deck, both for the Burn variant and the Lost World variant. But what the card is doing is, obviously it has Advent, that's like their whole gimmick, and then when this card enters the field by Advent, you could call up to one Empyreal Corps monster from your hand or drop zone to another area by paying its call cost, and it becomes a size 0 until it leaves. So realistically, you're only going to be calling this card to just make Raphael a size 0. That's the whole intended purpose for the card in this deck, and the whole idea is just to make sure that you could play Raphael, because what Raphael does is at the end of the attack phase, if you are dealt 4 or more damage, you gain 8 life and draw 2 cards. So it just puts you that much closer to A, staying alive, and B, getting Lost World out. And then the other new card that the deck got is Saint Thunderstorm. So you can only cast this card during your opponent's turn. If an Empyreal Corps card is on your field, you take 2 damage, and then counter, you get to choose one of the following 2. Either destroy up to 2 cards on your opponent's field and deal 1 damage for each card destroyed. That's okay. The other effect that you're probably going to end up using more often than not is you could rest up to a total of 2 monsters and or items on your opponent's field and deal 1 damage to them for each card rested. Obviously, with destruction being kind of irrelevant, it's still relevant, but a lot of cards just have built-in protection from card destruction. The rest effect is really strong, and it also helps you buy some time for you getting into Lost World. So that makes this a very solid defense spell for the deck. But outside of that, the deck hasn't really changed a whole lot. It's just running the Lost World Turbo build. So obviously you're going to be running Lost World. Raphael just helps you draw cards and keeps you in the game. Exousia just helps you filter the top cards of your deck. Crane is good because you could bounce it back during your opponent's turn, so you could Advent again. Population Reduction is solid because it helps us draw more cards. Oswira Gard is pretty good because it helps us draw more cards and gain more gauge. Holy Wish helps us pick off 2 cards on the opponent's field if they could, and if they could, then you also get to draw a card, but it's also a way for us to take more damage to trigger certain effects or get to that threshold that we need to be at for our damage for the turn. Sacred Holy Grail is in there as a phase ender, on top of which it also nullifies an attack. White Request is probably one of the most important cards in the deck, in which we get to charge 2 and basically get to look at our gauge and put a card from our gauge into our hand. So it helps us find Lost World if it's in our gauge. Angelic Radiance is in there to act as an item search or to put an Empyreal Corps monster from our drop zone to our hand. Glory of Heavens is in there because it's just gaining us more resources. Cleansing Judgment is in there, again, just because it's gaining us more resources, on top of which it also helps protect some of our cards. And it protects us from burn. Pure White Eden is in there because it is our size 3 searcher. Linkris is in there because it helps us gain some life, and it's a size 0, and it is pretty solid fodder. Lintus is in there because it helps us gain a lot of gauge. And then Grace of the Sun Deity is Grace of the Sun Deity. It doesn't really need an explanation at this point. But yeah, the deck is just a fairly simple Lost World Turbo deck. The 2 new cards definitely help the deck out a lot in terms of defense and just having a little bit of extra pressure on board, and can help set up for some really powerful plays. As far as some of the other cards you could run just straight up the burn version of Empyreal Corps, but I don't necessarily think the burn version of Empyreal Corps is any good because, again, Grace of the Sun Deity is a card, and that just basically makes your impact do nothing. So the whole point is to set up for your impact, and then your impact just does nothing now so I don't really see a whole point on running it. But there's just a whole bunch of other generic cards that you could run. So you could run some of the Omnilords in the deck, because the 5th Omnilord, Mugen Drum, is actually pretty interesting because he synergizes with the deck, because it's whenever you take damage, and a lot of your spells say you take damage. So you could run either of the Mugen Drums in the deck, and then you could run Burnova in the deck because it's Burnova, and the fact that Raphael is going to be a size 0 off of Graviel is pretty solid, which means you could actually have a board to play with for Burnova. So, and it's not like the card is that hard to find, because it's as easy to find as any other card in the deck. So that's just kind of the deck in a nutshell. I just think the Lost Turbo deck is the only way to play the deck anymore, because like Grace just kills the impact. And as unfortunate as that is the reality of the situation. There was an argument before to play either version of the deck, because Grace wasn't exactly a card, and there wasn't a whole lot of burn protection, but now that there's more, I just think Lost World is better. So that's kind of all I have for this deck profile. As always, I'll have the deck list in the description below. Feel free to leave a comment if you have any questions about the deck or just want to leave a comment in general. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content, and I will see you in the next video.